Hey 3DMJers, this is Andrea Valdez and you're listening to the 3D Muscle Journey podcast. Today is a one-on-one interview with my fellow 3DMJ coach Alberto Nuñez about his current post-season gaining phase. After his last bodybuilding competition, he's taking a very different approach than he has in the past by running the post-contest recovery diet in a very aggressive fashion. As someone who's primarily known all over the interwebs as one of the most peeled natural pros out there, Alberto's assertive dive into off-season gaining may surprise a lot of listeners who typically look to him for cutting advice and strategies. So we get pretty detailed in this one. You hear us talk about how he thinks he's sold himself short by giving into social pressures the last couple of preps, why he plans to be heavier than ever by the end of this year, his current, previous, and future calorie intakes and body weights, how he has changed his training focus since the competition, and his detailed logic about how he's come to all these conclusions, both for himself and as an example to many who truly see bodybuilding as a long-term, lifelong endeavor. So as always, let us know what you think over at 3dmusclejourney.com or on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/team3dmj. Leave it under podcast 84. So here it is, how Alberto Nuñez bulks. Hope you guys like it. If we're going to talk about you and where you are right now, post last season and going into, or you're pretty much transitioned into your off season, it is February 2018. When was the last time you were on stage?
November 11th.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm going on week 13 or 14 now.
Whoa, it sounds way shorter that way than 3 months.
Yeah, it does. But then it's wow, that's actually about as long as some people go on a gaining phase for.
Or that's
right?
how long people prep. Both.
Yeah.
That's still strange.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea when you plan on getting back? Or is that open-ended? Get back to stage?
I think the last few times I felt rushed. It wasn't entirely my decision.
Rushed into the prep?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was having a good time doing my off-season thing, and for one reason or another, I felt that I needed to prep. And it was, oddly enough, it was mostly for the social aspect, I feel. So the prep prior to this, Jeff Alberts was threatening to retire, right? And I completely forgot that he's retired 5 times.
3 times, 5 times, yeah.
Right? And then this year, my buddy Brian Miner, he had not prepped since 2012. So he was due for one, and for him it was a pretty sure thing. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just it's a lot more fun when you can do it with some of your bros. So.
Do you really feel that way? See, I've never done that.
Yeah, with the right ones though. Absolutely, it has to be the right ones for sure.
Okay.
I absolutely love going to shows with Jeff and repping it for the team. I've always, those are some of my best memories. And then with Brian, I've only known Fat Brian since I got here, so I'm I gotta be a part of this. And
we need Christmas tree Brian.
Let's go do this together. I'm gonna lose my beer buddy anyways, so let's have at it.
Right. Do y'all train together every day?
I think once a week we find a way to get together. Mostly because he's on the dad schedule, so he has to sneak it in when he can. But yeah, no, I don't regret either one. They were both great preps, but just simply because the rate of progress slows down so much. Maybe 2-year off seasons at some point were okay, but I think now in order to leave a big enough dent, I would need to go at it a bit longer. So I'd like to have maybe one more prep in my 30s, and then
And you're about to be 35 now?
Yeah, 35 next. Yeah. So I'm at a good spot. I feel and I've said this before, it's like the equivalent of like a 20-year-old running back. It's like, hey, you're in your prime. Um, don't get hurt. Play the long game, and you'll have a good time. So yeah, I want to give myself more time, more space, and that's why we will definitely take a longer off season. But as of right now, we're about 3 months in, and it's been pretty good so far. I don't miss prep, and I don't miss the shreds. I'm
At all?
totally enjoying where I'm at right now. Yeah, yeah.
When's the last? Did you like? How far usually are you from the stage till you do start missing them? Missing the shreds? Or are you past that point in your like career right now where you're like, that's cool, but I don't need it?
I bullshit about it because I will go to shows and then someone will say like, man, being here and smelling the tan just makes you want to do it.
What?
I'm like, yeah, yeah, like, yeah, that ambiance is never really, or seeing other people prep for that matter. I think what makes me want to prep the most is when I feel like I have made enough changes in my physique that I can't wait to, cash out on this. That's when it really starts to get exciting. When I'm like, okay, I am totally in a place that I've never been before. I wanna see what it looks like.
Have you ever done that? Because you said the last two were socially like, oh, I'll do it with you.
Yeah. This last time, not as much, but the off season prior to that, man, there was a span. I was just so healthy and things were moving so well. There was like a 4-month span where I think there was over 100 reps, like with deadlifts that were over 500 pounds. So everything was just clicking, and a part of me was like, man, you have so much momentum going. Like, why stop it? Like, you should just keep going and see how far you can take this hot streak, which had been going on for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was so good to the point that I'm like, I wasn't even rushing it anymore. I'm just like, you know what? We're not going to get greedy. I'm just going to let it come at whatever rate, and it was working well. So I had found that rhythm, and that's where I want to be. I want to find that rhythm. I want to just clearly look different, not have to tell people I look different, and then I think it's going to be the right time to go for it.
Okay. That's funny that you say not tell people I look different. I know. It's funny because I know exactly what you're talking about, where the people will put like two pictures next to each other that like pretty much are similar, but then they have to say, if you look real closely at my da-da-da, it's really come in compared to last time. Okay.
No, I fantasize about, I don't know if it's going to be that good, but I'm like, I want people to be like, dude, like, there's no way you could progress this much, like, at this stage, he has to be taking like something, that's that sort of deal. Because I legitimately feel that, for an athlete, there's a time where, like, I said this in one of my YouTube entries, where, your elevators are kind of switching floors, like your physical elevator is kind of going down, but your mental one is kind of going up, and there's a place where they meet at the highest floor. Mm-hmm. And I feel that I'm approaching that. And I think to get the most out of that, you should not be dieting, and you should be, you should be progressing and trying to put on muscle. So, yeah,
that's
my chance.
Now, we've known about this whole recovery diet thing for like your last two preps, but right? I mean, like when you exited 2014, you weren't thinking like creep calories up still, right? You were past that then.
Last time, well, this time it was like, yes, like just almost, because I didn't want to waste time. So it was like, yeah, like almost use a model that would be appropriate if you wanted to compete like this year, you want to get right back to progressing as soon as you can. In previous years, it wasn't like that. And as a matter of fact, I went back through my logs in 2008. It was the first time I legitimately got in contest shape. Mm-hmm. And I was reading my posts, and I was like, literally, I was insane. I was crazy.
Tell me about it.
I think part of it was the first time I had ever been in that sort of shape. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, everyone gets shredded now. Not everyone, but when I look at the conditioning I had that I had reached back in 2008, it's not that novel anymore. You know, people know enough, and you will see like these young 20-somethings like running around looking about that lean. So for me, it was really hard to, for sure, that first time let go of something that I felt for the first time ever within the sport made me unique. You know, it was my secret weapon, and so part of it was, yes, some lightweight, body dysmorphia, I'd say, and then I think that prep and part of it was my fault. I was not a very good athlete in regards to relaying feedback. Lane Norton was my coach at the time. I remember when he told me, "What is your off-season intake? We're gonna, work it off that." I told him 3,200 calories.
Okay.
And that clearly was not my off-season intake. It was a lot more than that, and I quickly found that out.
Why did you tell him that? Is that what you thought?
Yeah, I wasn't tracking.
Okay.
I was just eating and lifting. So I'm like, this sounds about right. So total underreporter. But yeah. So my numbers during that prep, it was 50 grams of fat, 175 grams of carbohydrate, 240 protein.
Which is terrible for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Not for humans, but for Bert, who's a very carb.
Yeah.
Because now you're like dieting on twice so many carbs at your low end.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I hardly ever have to visit below 400.
Yeah. Wow.
But it just kind of, so that's when people tell me, it's like, oh, you have it easy and dieting doesn't hurt. Just like, dude, when I thought that was appropriate, I was getting the results I wanted, and I didn't stop to think about the small print that comes with dieting. It's like what I signed up for.
Yeah.
So, and I was probably not weighing myself at the right time of the day, as frequently as I should have. So the data was all messed up, but I kept looking better week after week. So there was really no changes we had to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I started there, and I started there, ended the prep there pretty much in regards to my intake. And after that, I guess the rumors that had been going around the internet was that you can charge up your metabolism by reverse dieting out. Mm-hmm. And that was very intriguing to me because, I got the job done. I got peeled. I got my pro card. I did my first pro show, but I never wanted to diet on that intake again. So if there was something that I could do to help that, I was all in. And I was willing to be disciplined post-contest to supercharge my metabolism and have more food next time I did prep. So I walked up my intake literally like 100 to 150 calories a week for about 3 months, 4 months maybe. And it got to the point where my carb intake was in the mid 500s. Calories were quite a bit over 3,000, and I was still like 160 pounds, like 162, 163.
Yeah. But in your eyes, that was good at the time.
I thought I got the job done. I thought I supercharged my metabolism, and but I look at what I was typing, and I was like so food focused. I kept talking about how hungry I was. Here I am 3 months later, like still using, I remember I was tracking my Splenda. Like I would post my food. Yeah, like my 10 packets of Splenda were there. Like my food list was immense because it was like one of those IIFYM girl pastry recipes. It's like you have to buy like 4 different kinds of flour, right? But that's how I was living. I didn't feel like a bodybuilder, not at all. Just neurotic across the board. And I think it wasn't until 4 or 5 months later, I'm like, this is silly. Like I'm not really even training. Like I'm just running around at this body fat that I can't progress at. I don't feel big and strong in the gym, and like my life revolves around food. And whenever I have to eat something that is not trackable, I get anxiety, and I had never been that way about anything. That was my reverse diet. Okay. And then every one after that wasn't quite as intense, but I definitely made it a priority to not blow up. And I would say that at this point during previous preps, on the way out, the last two kind of averaged about the same. The rebound was about the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say I would be about 10 pounds lighter than I am right now, and nowhere near close to my off-season levels of performance. And like at this point, I'm already kind of topping a lot of those. Um,
For
and
context,
yeah,
what's your, like when you say those two preps, so we have like the slow ass reverse, and then you said you had a
yeah,
couple that were a little better, and then you have this one, right? And so
yeah.
for the couple that were a little better, stage weight versus what you would think was like 12, 13 weeks later, and then this one, stage weight versus what actually is, like your body weight differences.
Yeah, yeah. So I was still under 170 with the last two semi like reverse diets.
And we
Uh,
competed the high 150s, right, on stage?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. About high 150s is about as low as I get. And this time, like today, I weighed myself. I was like 177, almost 178.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, no, this is where I make the most progress. So it just makes sense to me. It's like don't go, gaining 40 pounds in 2 months, which it does happen to people, and that's why you should have some structure because I've seen that happen just as much as you'll see people perhaps being too attached to the shreds and perhaps spending too much time below their body fat set point coming out of a show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to me it was like let's get back into the 170s because that's where you can actually work comfortably. So that was the number one priority. But yeah, going back to that first reverse diet, I was under the assumption that yeah, I had supercharged my metabolism. But you will see these like side by sides of that people post of like a successful reverse diet where they've gained 3 to 4 pounds, and their intake has climbed up X amount. And like usually, if you just do the math, like what ends up happening is like they kind of close up the deficit. So like you add 400 calories, right? And that's what they did. And then you could add a few percents here and there for yes, the metabolic adaptations that do happen, and then just that subconscious need activity that just picks up. And it's like all you really did was like take 3 months to get back to maintenance, and you're
Okay.
just yeah. So I avoided that this time, and I'm super happy with the results. And yeah, I don't look shredded, but like I don't need to be shredded unless I'm competing.
What's weird is those posts she talks about that are like we're bodybuilders, but a lot of those circulate through the internet where the goal is how much food can I get away with
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
versus like what I'm actually able to lift, which is what translates to building a body.
yeah, exactly. I don't care about what I look like 12 weeks post show. Like what matters to me is like what I will look like in like 2021,
Yeah.
2022. Like that's the goal. I'm not gonna, yeah,
Yeah, and
if I
everyone's
have
going to
a,
be like, well, it's easy for you because you being 170, like you being 20 pounds over stage weight is still like fitness model lean.
oh, and it's because I have muscle.
I was
Like
going
so
to say,
there
but
you
it
go,
didn't used
right?
to. Yeah.
It's like if you got yourself some muscle, like you might be like, hey, I look all right, like even when I am not like super lean,
Yeah.
which goes back to like, hey, let's gain some muscle peeps. So no, we got off to a good start with that, and I couldn't be any happier with how the recovery phase went. And I can definitely relate to people who maybe are going through it their first time because yeah, there was times where I'm like, dude, you're gaining so fast and you don't look right. And then what ends up happening is like you kind of solidify at that body weight a few weeks later, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's what it should look like. So, and it's just so contrasting to like having no fat on you to just have a little bit of fat, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, like that's why you have to always remind yourself of those long-term goals and where you want to be, and not so much like focus on like the stuff
No.
now, the distractions. Yeah.
What, before your season even ended, what was the plan in your brain going forth? Like, did you have, any like immediate changes in training or purposeful nutrition beyond like your celebration meal or whatever? Did you have like, okay, once this is over, I'm going to start consuming this much or training in this different way, and with an aim of X amount of pounds over the next X amount of time? What was the plan?
Because in the mid 170s, I kind of I have my behavior pretty locked in when it comes to like what gets me there and what keeps me there. So it was very easy. There was no real plan. It was just like go back to the off-season habits that you usually have. So like remember that those few days that you came in here and we kicked it, like that, like I just went back to that. Like that was my plan. Go back to that. And I think the one change that I did have that was had a little bit more structure to it was let's chill out on the training for a month, just for a bit, just because you just took your body through the ringer. So let's not forget that we just went through a 5-6 month prep.
Yeah. Okay. So building off that, when you say go back to my off-season habits, what are those for the listeners specifically? When you say go back to the things that keep me chill at 170s.
Yeah. Man, it's so hard to describe because I don't think about it. I just
I know. It's like it's your autopilot.
Yeah. But it wasn't always like that. It took a while. So yeah. Shoot, it's so hard to explain. I would say that it just centers around having 4 to 5 protein feedings a day.
How many grams per feeding are you like aiming for-ish?
Minimum of 30, but it could even get up as high as 50 sometimes. Which when your calories are higher, just you'll get enough. You get some extra protein from just like the bread, even though you had a shake. But I'll do that, and I'll try to keep dietary fat as low as I can until the last meal of the day. So I don't really cap myself too much with the carbohydrates, like for the all the meals like pre-training. But at the end of the day, it's like that's when I will like on purpose add fat to my diet, and that's basically my plan. Eat 4 times a day, and first meal, second meal, third meal, just fat, no fat, protein and carbs, and then that last meal, it's like, all right, you want a cheesecake, you want a grilled cheese sandwich, help yourself out.
Why is that? Like, is that a way for you to just monitor it not going crazy all day, or do you actually like not feel good with fat early in the day, or does the extra fat help you sleep? Like, what are your reasons in particular?
So I for sure run better on a higher carb, lower fat diet, both on season and off season, and that's a way to kind of make that happen without putting, sitting there thinking about what I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
So that's honestly the main reason. But at the same time, I also like the way dietary fat tastes. So if I just kind of isolate it to one meal, I am more likely to eat less than 100 grams of fat a day. Okay.
When you said for the month after this, I think I'm just going to chill out on training a little bit. What does that mean?
Yeah. When you think of overtraining and all the symptoms, right? Like if there's like one classic case where it's like, shoot, you are an overtrained athlete. It's probably an athlete coming out of prep. Like if you look at the list of symptoms, that sounds like a contest prep. So to me, it's like, hey, you know, how about we train less, use less volume, try not to progress. Like my RPEs were like 6 and 7, you know, but just kind of going in there, moving a little bit, but not trying to necessarily make any progress like the first 3 to 4 weeks. I don't think I actually trained until we got together in Austin, and I had to. I was with everyone, so I was definitely trying a little bit harder than
about a month later, yeah, 3-4 weeks later.
Yeah. So yeah, I just needed some room, and it was definitely it was the right decision, because even though I wasn't trying, I was progressing. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, you didn't need much, so why do more than you needed to? So
okay. So then it's probably the same answer, but then like you said, I know that 170 or mid 170s or whatever is my sweet spot. How did you determine that was your sweet spot, and what are the things that you feel different from like a 169 to like a 177? Like what happens in that like difference?
I'd say that for one, just the sheer weight, the sheer mass. Like I don't feel small and puny. I feel like I'm actually like I can move weight, and I can move weight safely. So that's the biggest thing. And then recovery is just way more predictable. And when I look at the history of where I have been the most productive, it's not below 170. Like under 170, I start to get like these weeks and days where I'm like, where did that come from? Like there's no reason that should have happened today. But right around the mid 170s is where things are nice and I can actually start to make some progress. That's about as lean as I cut to in the off season. And then when it really gets good, though, is once I cross the 180. Once I break into the 180, it's like I'm not necessarily a huge fan of what I look like. I actually will have a belly roll when I sit down, and and yeah, the body fat and all the places that we all have our spots, but all my spots are definitely starting to get filled in. So yeah, that's 180 is where I am most productive, where basically anything I write down on a spreadsheet happens. But I don't necessarily like the way I look. But I know I need to go there and stay there, and work in that environment as long as I can. And if there's one huge error, like looking back now, as a matter of fact, when you first moved to Sacramento, I think that was like my like weight training sweet spot. Like that's what that there was a hot streak there that, man, like
You were 190?
I was almost 190. Yeah. I was
And
higher
bald.
than, yeah, and
With
bald.
shaved head, I remember, yeah.
But that's when I was just moving things. I was just showing up and things would happen. But I don't necessarily like the way that looks. But that's not the goal. The goal is to look the way I want to look come my next show.
So then people would say, why don't you just hang out at 190 all the time? Or is that your goal this time?
That's the goal.
Right.
So I feel like I've yeah, even myself, like I'll be there. I think that time I spent maybe 4 months there.
Yeah, because you competed the next year.
Yeah, exactly. And I cut down to set up my next prep. And looking back now, it's like, dude, what if you spent a whole year there?
Yeah.
That was the one time I deadlifted 405 for a set of like 22, 23 for funsies, So yeah, I've kind of gone in my own way, like a lot of other people. And I want to be a good example. And I will be the first to admit that, sometimes because of what we do, like there is pressure there to look a certain way. And especially in my case, it's, when I go to an expo, when I present at a seminar, part of what people, want to see and part of their experience is, it's like
seeing the veins.
Yeah. And it, like I'm not immune to that, not at all. But at the same time, so there's eyes on me, and I should do that. I should do the right things with that, and that's my goal this off season, is to set a good example when it comes to that. And I'm sure I'm gonna have some people. There's always people out there that are like, Bert got fat, but then I'm pretty sure that come the next prep, they'll be like, oh, but it worked out. And so yeah, I want to influence people. I'll do the inverse of what Instagram does to the majority of people.
And use Instagram while you do it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's big of you, Bert.
No, I've gotten in my own way. I will say that. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that'll be 30-something pounds over stage weight?
Yeah.
Okay.
30-something.
It's funny. I remember when we were at Magnolia and we were like, "No, you're not, Bert." When you said, "I want to get to 200," or we were like, "No, you're not." But then you showed us some pictures and we were like, it's not that bad.
No, it's all my butt and hamstrings and lower back. So I can live with that. And yeah, like it's not my favorite look, but I love the way I perform, and I need to stop getting my own way. And I'm a severely regret if, because I know the things I do, like such as this one, to get in my own way. If I look back and I didn't get everything that I could have gotten from this off season.
Yeah, because this is a prime age for a natural bodybuilder.
Yeah, yeah. The elevators are both like approaching the same floor, and I have no excuses now. Like I have enough, physically and mentally I'm in the right place, and I have accumulated enough data over time where I should be able to leave a very big dent in my physique this off season.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm 5'2" and a girl, but I've been 30 pounds over for 3 years now or something. Like when you say 190, like for whatever reason, my brain, I'm like, damn, that's big for Bert. I remember that. But then when I think about, okay, so that's 30 something pounds, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about 30 pounds over my lowest.
Yeah, yeah. And
it doesn't
in
feel
your
that
case,
way.
in your case, yeah, it doesn't feel that way. And the thing is, if you have enough muscle, like, you know, being a little bit more over contest, it doesn't look as bad as people would think.
Now it doesn't. I think it did.
It would have, yeah.
No,
But
I think when I first hit this weight 2 years ago, I think it looked like shit.
and this is kind of like going out there, but I do feel that if there is a place where you can recomp, is probably at those levels that are. It's like the inverse of what people want. Like people
Yeah.
want to be lean and have it happen there, right? But when there's just so much available energy, I've noticed the same trend where last time I was 190, and when you had first moved to SAC, I remember first getting to 190, and I'm like, oh, like, and then maybe 3 to 4 months later, I'm like, wow, that the best way to describe it is like that really hardened up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's a
there
good way
was
to put it.
legitimately like soft spots, and I'm not used to having like soft spots, but over time it just kind of like they got harder, and like when I would flex things, like things would pop out. But of course it's like people are like, oh, so maybe there might be a chance that you can recomp, but it's probably at the body weight that that you don't want to be at, or most people have a hard time committing to floating around.
Yeah. Yeah, I've experienced that, and I'm experiencing that with a couple of my athletes right now too, where it's like you said, there's that knee jerk to want to look the part. Mm-hmm. Especially for you. I mean, shit, you've been in the public eye doing this for 10 years now.
Yeah. No, it is very difficult. And for me it's difficult, but it's like I've already kind of built up a reputation. So I can see why it would be really, really hard for the person that's, maybe trying to do something. Yeah.
Second time. Yeah. So how are you planning to go from 177 to 190? Not how, like, obviously eat more. Duh, I get it, listeners, if you want to talk shit. But for real, though, is there like a time scale? Are you, how closely are you monitoring your intake? Are you, do you have a roundabout idea of how that's going to look?
Yeah, so how I mentioned that I try to not purposely add fat to my meals until last meal of the day. When I find myself that I start to get stuck, I'll kind of add a little bit more fat to the other meals over time,
Okay.
And that's how I guess I adjust my calories when I feel like I need to. In regards to the overall pace, I want to be by the end of the year, so somewhere between maybe late September to November, I want to be in the 190s by then. And for me, it's always been easier to model my off seasons that way, where I just weigh myself semi-frequently, kind of have a good idea of what I'm eating, and then I just tell myself, hey, hey Bert, the next 7 months, bring me back 10 pounds, and I'll go do that. And some months will be faster, some months will be slower, but overall, about the same amount of the net amount of anabolism takes place, and I'm responsible with it. It's not like I'll have a month that I blow up 7 pounds and then try to make up for it the next month.
Yeah.
I do keep it as fluid as possible, but that never works out in the real world.
Okay. Do you find it hard to, well, what's like calorically on average, what's like your weekly average of calories right before you get on stage, or like, not including your peak week, but like an average end of contest intake, current intake, and what usually you have to consume to stay in like the 190s?
So I bottomed out at 27, 28 this last time.
Okay.
And if I were to put a number on it, I think right now I'm in the like 36 to 3,800 calories is about where I'm at.
Okay.
And to get into the 190s, I definitely have to, it's like 4,500 calories usually.
Okay.
That's about what it takes at that point.
Is that hard for you?
Because it's gradual, like you kind of, and then when I start my first like mini cut, I usually will kind of just get a firm handle of what I am eating. And I'm like, holy crap, breakfast is like 50 grams of fat. How did we end up here? It's a slow transition. And I think because, at that point when you're bigger and you need this much food to just keep what you are. It isn't just your maintenance, because of your body weight, but like mentally it just becomes your maintenance.
What do you mean by that?
Like you're just used to. It's almost like now, like if I go 3 or 4 days with eating a little bit less, like I'll start to feel it, and the same thing happens at that intake. Even though there's so much of me, it's like, it's just what at that point I need to sustain my training, to sustain my body weight. So since it's walked up so slowly or decently slowly, it's never too much of an issue. And I guess the perk is that life can be a little bit more pliable. Like I can go to a restaurant and it's like I can get like basically anything I want.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's not as hard as like if you were to tell me now like eat 4,500 calories for a week, I'm like, that sounds disgusting. But by the time you get there, it's like you've built up those habits. So
yeah. And when you get there, right? So everybody, I think, not everybody, a lot of people know that you're like the multi-mini cut per year kind of guy. Sometimes. Yeah. Is that still the plan? Like, okay, so right now the immediate, and by immediate in bodybuilding terms, we do mean that. Like the immediate goal is next 10 months-ish, gain 10 to 15 pounds-ish. And have you thought past that? Like, I'm going to live there for a year, you said, but before you haven't done that in a long time.
No, I haven't. And it's just to find out, I think you had success with that. Like it was, right?
Yeah.
And while you did do, like your work could have been a bit more bodybuilding specific. So imagine like that body weight with those calories, or caloric intake that was appropriate, with a more bodybuilding type of training, like more something that would hit the delts, hit the lats, like that sort of deal. Like imagine the progress you would have made with that. And like we've kind of seen the same thing with Eric as well. Like he's a few years deep into this whole training thing, and we talked about it briefly that like if you give yourself enough time, sometimes it can work. Letting yourself go through a heavier phase. Mm-hmm. So I want to definitely stay there. I don't want to just be like, hey, I talk shit and then he bailed out. I would like to get there and maybe live there for another year. maybe an even slower rate of gain. Maybe by November, I'm like, 192, 193. And then, 6, 7 months later, I'm, 3 or 4 pounds heavier, but looking better. That's,
Yeah.
yeah. So I want to be very patient with this and again, just set a good example for others, because I think there's a lot of people out there who rob themselves of their gains because they're doing what's cool, and
Yeah.
what's fashionable and cool is it's always expensive, right? No matter what it is in the fitness world, it's coming at the cost of I think progress and uh, for a lot of people also mental health even, I'd say.
Yeah. I think it's easier for you to, or not that it's easy, but I know that the people that have the hardest time, it seems, right, like we talked about, tend to be the people that are earlier in their career and their first, like you said, the opportune weight for gaining muscle doesn't necessarily look real awesome. But also, I think what makes it hard is they haven't adopted this as their life. They're still like, but do I even like bodybuilding?
Yeah.
And when am I going to get something from the sport in return because of this work I've put in? And I think the advantage that I think we, the 5 of us coaches, and any other of our athletes that are going to continue to see themselves on this like lifelong journey of building a physique or whatever, it's so much less scary because, like you said, there's no downside. Like, what's the worst that happens? I look like shit for a little bit, but that's going to make it better when I'm on stage again. And it's like these people that are like, okay, it's my second time doing it. I had a really rough off season. I never liked the way I look. If I don't get it right this time, I'm just not going to do the sport. When it's like, that's the exact time where you have to stick it out if you want to even be good at this sport. And it's, I don't know, like when you talk about it, it sounds so good and you sound so sure of yourself. And it makes sense. And to me, it finally does. But I just think there's going to be a lot of people listening that are like, I don't know, it sounds hard to be like 30 pounds more than you are. Like, that's so hard emotionally.
No, and that's the thing. It's like whoever might, like, we're always concerned about what other people are going to say, and like 99.9% of the people who might say something, it's like, bruh, I'll get in better shape than you in like 8 weeks,
Yeah.
Right. So like I have that where it's like I know how to do that. I've been there. I've done that really well. Like that part's kind of sorted out. So yeah, I do have that advantage. And then just again, like the elevator thing, like the mental game is just in a much better place than ever before. I mean, shoot, like God forbid that I would have been 22 years old, like in this era of social media doing this. Like that would have messed me up.
Yeah.
I would have. Yeah, that would
I'm
have.
so glad all this stuff didn't exist when I was in high school because I think I'd have so much embarrassing shit on the internet.
Oh.
I'm so glad this didn't happen to us till like 20s, late
I would have
20s.
been YouTube famous though, but it would have been for like a lot of the wrong reasons.
It makes it harder, yeah. So are there other things that you said, I want to be a good example, which is admirable, and that's our job, and that's what we selected for our lives. But is there anything, I don't know, is it like a prove something kind of thing? Is it really just like for the greater good, or is this for the good of me on stage and it's actually kind of selfish in a good way, or a combination of all of it?
No, I'm definitely trying to get mine. Like that is definitely like priority one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's sometimes it's surreal when someone tells you like thank you for what you do. It's really helped me out. Like I'll read these messages the first time, but then I don't really read until I go through it one more time. I'm like, holy fucking shit! Like this person means it, you know? Like this is a person, you know, they have feelings, they have their moments, you know, they're afraid of shit, they're unsure of shit, and the fact that you can help people out, that's so powerful to me. Um, it's mind blowing. It really is. Um, so no, it's definitely to help out a lot of people who chances are I'll never meet, but yeah. While I'm helping myself out, hopefully they can take some of you know of something from seeing the example that I put out there. Um, yeah, yeah. I
How do you
think
think it? Oh, go ahead.
no, no, and again, it hasn't dawned like on me until like recently that what we do, and especially with this little that one podcast about being lonely, like I've had so many messages about that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was a big response.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's like these people are people, but like when you really stop and you think about it, it's just like and everything that goes along with that, it's like wow, the fact that I can do this is something that you shouldn't take lightly. Um, so yeah, I definitely yeah, I want to do the honorable thing while I'm out there helping myself.
Dude, that was nice. Um, do you think that it's not just like I know you said like I want to show people that you can do this or whatever. Not that that's your main goal, obviously, because it is helping you as an athlete. But as a as a trend, though, this
Mm,
used to be the thing to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you think it used to be the thing to do because dudes weren't scared to get big, or because they used to do tiny little bitty off seasons to compete every year, every other year, and it was the only way? Um, or do you think it just went away because, like we said, the internet came and being sexy is now a business tool?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a big part of it is, again, what's like being cool is expensive.
To
Like
the career, yeah.
no matter what it is, like if you are into Jordans, like that's expensive, dude. Um, if you're into fitness, it's like, oh, you're gonna need the right gear. You're going to have to look like the model who's wearing the right gear. Um, and it's very easy to get sucked into that. Super easy to get sucked into that. And yeah, given the fact that, I have my own little group of people that really trust me, I, I want to, yeah, have them focus a bit more on things outside of like what is trendy and hot now. Because it used to be the other way around, but it was the other way around because what was cool was to look like a bodybuilder. Yeah,
Explain
and
that.
by bodybuilders, like the head honchos at the top of this, like it was like the IFBB pros.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that was the cool thing. Um, and yeah, that had its own issues, but at the same time, um, I felt that because the goal was to look like Johnny Jackson, um, you were a little bit more okay with trying to let your weight and your body fat and your lifts climb up a little bit in an attempt to do that. Um, Even if it meant going through a phase where, you didn't necessarily look ready to wear whatever the coolest gear out there is, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so it was a different trend and it had its own small print, but there's like everything else. There's a sweet spot in between that a lot of people tend to overlook. Um, but yeah, no, it's overwhelming to think about. Like to be honest, the fact that like what we do as a team, can affect what other people do with themselves. Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm figuring out my stuff and like finally doing things right, I feel, or better than I have in the past. I want to perhaps help people get to that point a bit sooner than but yeah, I don't want them to wait till they're 35 to kind of get it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, there's so many things in between that. Like when you say you don't want to wait till 35 to get it, not just to get the groove of like, hey, we're bodybuilders and we're supposed to be in a place that builds a body, but more like, how do we make it cool to not care so much about being lean?
See,
It's hard.
and that's I remember. So when when I hiked Half Dome with Ryan Doris.
Yeah.
I remember we were walking down some trail to check out this really cool lake, and all these dudes were coming back from the lake like all shirtless and like tanned up, and you can tell they cut hard to look right for this, right? This was their moment. And I remember Ryan looking at me and he's like, yeah, I remember when I used to use muscles as accessories, you know? And it's so true. Like here are these like two pro natural bodybuilders just walking like by and we're just kind of like fully shirted and everything. Like I had an extra large t-shirt on, some really long shorts, high socks. And like we're just yeah. So it's like when you get to the point where you're doing this for the sport, to execute your goals and not necessarily to shine everywhere you go. Like that's when it's easiest. Like I forget sometimes that like I look a little weird. Like I'll be like waiting in a supermarket line sometimes, and people will look at my cart and they're like, "Oh, okay, that's how you do," you know? And,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I think that's when you get to that point where, yeah, like Ryan said, you're not wearing your muscles as accessories anymore. That's when stuff like really opens up for you, and it becomes less of an emotional thing.
Damn, that's a great point. Yeah, I remember when all of y'all were here in Austin, and every time we'd go somewhere, like the five of us, there was like 3 different places where people were commenting. Someone has called us the muscle team. Someone, like when we were ordering barbecue.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny.
and like
And we don't think we're a big deal.
Oh no,
We forget.
I look like everyone else here, but yeah.
Yeah, that was hard though. All right, so is there anything else besides like any really different goals besides I want to show everyone it's okay to not even show it's okay, like for my sport I am gonna be 30 over for a long time because that's what I think is best. Aside from that, is there anything else in this off season that you're working on?
I want to find out what's the least amount of volume that I can get away with while still progressing. That's huge.
For longevity purposes, for time
Yes,
purposes, for okay.
exactly. Or more so for longevity. I'll be there as long as I need to, and I'll make it work. But I just want to do this for a very long time. And like for example, you look at Jeff, and Jeff's been struggling with a few things here and there of late. And he's done a very good job, I think. Yeah, a very, very good job, an outstanding job, I feel, when it comes to avoiding useless volume.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's making it happen. He's still, training really hard, but it kind of, yeah, it hit me. It hit me when I think the last 2 years when things really started to pop up more frequently. I'm like, fuck, dude, you've been way more reckless than Jeff. Like
you mean injuries pop up?
Yeah.
Okay, like little niggles.
I've done more things to myself. Like I've abused my body more in regards to useless volume, especially in my early 20s compared to Jeff. And if Jeff is kind of dealing with that, it turned on a switch on my mind that you should probably be more mindful of what you're doing right now. because you can, going into your 40s, you can still be really productive. How you do it might change a little bit, but you can still get work done at that age, or at the very least, I still want to enjoy the sport. So that's the other thing. I've brought down my volume like quite a bit, and so far it's been working. And I just want to see how long that can work for. And I think it would be hilarious, but a little like frustrating if I didn't have to change much throughout most of the off season, because that definitely means that I was doing way too much for a very long time. So yeah, to be more efficient when it comes to that.
Well, it's Jeff never did the powerliftings like he did either.
Exactly.
And I know that in the last couple of years you shifted, like for every 5x5 back squat you get to do like 40 more leg presses kind of shit.
Yeah. No, so yeah, the powerlifting thing. I mean, yes, I still like to go heavy, but I'm a little bit more picky about when and with what movements. So that's another big one. Is just like every other sport kind of does this. Like I gave the running back example, pitchers are huge when it comes to this, where they look at your mileage before that, what kind of system you came from, and that's really important as you get into the advanced stages.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Based on the last everything we've talked about, are there some things you're doing or are about to do with your athletes that are a little bit different, knowing the shit you've learned in the last year? Like globally, are there any things you're doing different in your coaching practice than you were a couple years ago because of your last prep, or because of what you're finding out about yourself right now?
It's still like overwhelming and weird when like people kind of want to be like you.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I'll get athletes that they'll be like, dude, I found a gym that has the lat pullover thing you have in your gym. Like, I want to do it. Or like, the fucking seal row and things like that. So like,
You're such a trendsetter, Bert. You can't help it.
But like if I do it, it's a lot easier to if I do it, it's a lot easier to get my athletes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone wants it. Almost everyone that I get as an athlete, at some point they've trained 6 days per week, and unless it's like for scheduling reasons, like you just need to get like these little itty bitty like training sessions like throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't need to be there 6 days a week. So like I have found over time that I'd say about 90% of people do best with 4 days a week of training. Like we just were
physically.
We're hurt less.
Yeah.
We progress longer. But it's very, very hard to sell that to people. And I think now that I've gone down to 4 days per week, I don't get as much like, are you sure, Bert? Like, can we get this day with, maybe just like these accessories or something like that. So when I explicitly set the right example, it's easier to get my athletes to buy into that because I'm not contradicting myself.
Right.
So that's one thing I have enjoyed about say having just like my spreadsheet like public so that people can see what I'm doing, and maybe someone out there who's not one of my athletes can look at their own spreadsheet and they're like, holy fucking shit, like I have 30 sets of like belt work on this day, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's as I do find things out that work for me, I do consider how maybe this can help me with this athlete or that athlete, but I am careful at the same time to not let that I don't want it to let it affect the way I do things necessarily, because it's worked for me.
It's hard not to.
Yeah,
it's real hard.
It's hard. It's definitely hard. I was actually talking to this power lifting coach who was talking about another powerlifting coach who because for him, lower amounts of volume have in recent years worked really well, and he's been able to progress and stay pretty healthy doing so. He sometimes doesn't push his athletes as hard as he should. This other coach was telling me, and yeah, like I don't want to be like that. I want to make sure that I keep myself in check and that I am being as objective as possible, but definitely, without not ignoring my own experiences, because I do think that's valuable as well.
Yeah. Cool. Before we finish, can you tell all the peeps who maybe only listen to the podcast and don't check out our YouTube channel very much, can you tell them about Bulking in the Year 3000 and what all you have on our channel and all that stuff? What you're filming now?
Yeah. So that's where I'm...
that's the title of his playlist. Or his, I'll say your playlist, your series at the moment.
Yeah, and it came from the fact that people will always ask you, so when will you compete again? And, whenever you would say, like, 2020, like, their eyes get huge, like, are you out of your mind, right? So I'm like, I might as well have told them the year 3000, because, like, that's the face they give you. So it was that, and then also because I like for it to be ahead of its time, I guess. Even though it's not necessarily ahead of its time, it's just we've been in recent years influenced to, like have to look like the IG model that has to look that way, or their sponsor drops them.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the title, and it was those were the two main reasons that I decided to go with that. And yeah, I'm getting better at it. I'll tell you that. I'm starting to actually really find a good rhythm with that. I want to be. Yeah, I forget how interesting, like, being a fly in the wall can be when it comes to people who you genuinely find interesting. I don't find myself that interesting, but there's people out there who do. So I'm getting better at just invading my own privacy. So if I keep this up, I think at some point it'll be something that, is it just gets more transparent over time.
It's weekly.
It's weekly.
Weekly videos. Friday, Saturday?
We do Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Jeff's the Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my peeps are really pliable with that, thankfully. And often the reason it takes a little bit longer is because I'm like, holy crap, you have not recorded anything. You should, record today. But yeah, that's my series, and I hope to have 150 entries or something like that, or maybe 200 before we decide.
You beat me.
That it's.
I had 113 with my 2013 prep. No, 104 episodes. 104, I think.
Oh wow. Yeah, I would like to get up there.
Yeah.
And yeah, just make it like something that this is the goal with that. Is it the young YOLO that is having a hard time, pushing himself to, exist at that body weight and body fat, that even in their own mind, they're like, fuck, this is where I will put on the most muscle. Like, they can go back to that and, like, find comfort by going through videos like, 65 through 73, and seeing that it worked out. So that's been my main incentive and my main driver to keep that going, so that I could have proof and hopefully can help someone out.
And like you said, your spreadsheet, people follow along. It's linked in all the description boxes of the videos. Yeah. So as I'm training, I'm filling that thing out so they can keep up with that. And youtube.com/team3dmj, because these are there. Because these podcasts are there. Your Bulking in the Year 3000 is there. Jeff's current prep, the Godfather's prep, is on there right now. And like I said, I think his is Fridays and Saturdays-ish. And Eric just started at Anecdotes and Observation. Brad, man.
What's the title for that?
That's it. AO. I can't.
AO, yeah.
Brad just had a 6 video thing on the vault. We remembered how to do videos again. It only took us like 3 years.
Yeah. And I find it so relaxing when I get to like actually start. It's like a moment for me to sit back and like reflect.
On your week.
Yeah. So I've been trying to take that perspective because I'm still not used to that. Not at all. Maybe at some point I'll get big enough that I can like get someone to like just record me like all the big shots on YouTube.
I know a couple guys.
I'll have my mom. She'll do it.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, any closing remarks? I'm gonna hang up on you. Closing remarks.
Nah, no. I think that's it.
You're an inspiration, Bert.
Yeah, I want to come through. I'll come through. I swear I'm not just gonna get fat.
I know. Nobody thinks you're getting fat. And if they do, they're dumb. Or they didn't listen to this podcast. All right, see ya. Thanks so much for listening, guys. 3DMJ prides itself on keeping this show, our blog, and our YouTube channel as free and relevant sources of information for our community week after week. We also release additional free video courses as often as possible at 3dmjvault.com. If you'd like to help support our mission and our work, please consider becoming a monthly patron of our endeavors. Go to patreon.com/team3dmj and donate as little as $1 per month to our cause of helping educate and grow the drug-free bodybuilding and powerlifting communities worldwide. You can definitely choose to donate more, and if you do so, we'll send you discount codes for future use on any of our paid products. But any little bit helps, and we appreciate your monthly support in any amount that you see fit. So again, you can start assisting the team at patreon.com/team3dmj. That's patreon.com/team3dmj. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in the next show.